right, so I'm going to address just a back squat today, but really any squatting in general. And I'll start by saying it's probably a bad day for me to do this because I'm sore from the Murph yesterday, but we're going to go ahead and give it an effort. So one of the biggest thing with the squat is how you think about your setup. And the main game we're playing here is a game of tension. So the first thing I want to do is make sure when I stand in a neutral stance, my ankles, my knees, my hips, my shoulders, everything is just aligned. I'm just standing straight. My gaze is ahead. And where my eyes go is where my neck, my head follow. So if my eyes are looking up, I'm going to put my head and ultimately my spine into a certain position. And if I put my gaze down, my chin's down, I'm going to round the spine the other way. So remember, where your eyes are is what your neck is going to do. We want to try to maintain a line from the back of our head, top of our back, all the way to the top of the butt. So that all moves in one motion whenever we hinge. And even though we're squatting, there is a little bit of a hinge that takes place. Not as much as in a deadlift, but there's still, we're not staying perfectly vertical, especially in a back-loaded squat. A front-loaded squat, you're going to hinge just a tiny bit as you squat. So think about the eyes and what the chin are doing. A big thing, and this is what all the in-person people know, can we train it here, but is learning to screw your feet into the floor. There's two ways to think about this. The way that works for me is you think about your foot and you're trying to create this outward motion, but the foot doesn't actually move. So I put pressure through my toes, through my feet, and I try to move my toes outwards, but they stay in place. And as soon as I do that, as soon as I create that tension, you'll notice that your glutes, they engage immediately. No tension, tension. And what that's doing is it's sending the hips into external rotation, and now I'm creating a nice steady structure between my hips all the way down to my feet on the floor. And remember, your feet are that's your point of contact to the ground. That is where all of this being able to lift and move happens. That's what we're standing on, that's keeping us steady, is the floor. So if we're not able to get our body steady, that means we're losing ultimately our ability to transfer power because we're not steady. So that's when I think of the word stability. That's what we're really talking about here. So if I can create tension in my body, I'm going to be able to be a lot more stable whatever movement I'm doing. So for the back squat specifically, and even some of our overhead presses and things like that, lunges, it's the same thing. Even in the deadlift, we're sending those hips into rotation by focusing on the feet. And this is a learned practice. You might get the concept at first, but if you keep playing with it, it will become more and more attuned. You'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Foot positioning can vary, and I would recommend playing with different stances. I used to squat much more narrow. I squat now a little bit wider. My heels are probably about where my hips are. And as you bring those feet further and further out, the toes would go with them. So if I was going to do a narrow stance squat, my feet would be parallel, and I could squat here pretty easily. But as the feet move further out from each other, I'm going to kick the toes out accordingly. So if I get my feet out pretty wide, I want those feet, so that way my knees can track over the toes. And again, there's not a right or wrong way to do this. Play with it, try different stances, especially at lighter loads. You might find a certain stance feels a little bit more natural than others. Play with them, train them all. But this for me is pretty comfortable. So that is going to be where you start with squatting and so many other movements, is learning to create some tension, get those feet screwed in. Another way that I've heard it described is as you squat, you're almost trying to push out from the pockets. It's the same thing. I just like to focus on the feet, but we're not sending the knees out. I'm not driving the knees out. I need to create that tension from the floor up, from my feet up. That's what sets this structure into place. So, with that all being said, I'm going to walk through this next piece pretty quickly. I could spend hours doing this, but this is going to be the basic setup. I want to approach the barbell the same time every way. My hands are about shoulder width. I want to get them as close together as I can. while still having that range of motion to put the barbell over on my back. So for me, it's a little, my inside of my fist is right about where my middle of my shoulder is. I set this way up every time. I'm gonna walk under the barbell, get both feet all the way under me. I never used to do this, and it makes a difference. So already out of the gate, I am gripping down on the barbell and creating tension. I've got my lats engaged, my grip is tight. I'm making the barbell and my body just one, they're coming together. So I'm gonna grip down, both feet are under me. I'm gonna grip down, lift straight up, take a small step back. We don't need to come way back in the pocket. That's plenty of room for me to squat. Now here, take your time, get your feet where you want them. Screw those feet in. Remember, this is all about tension. So my grip is tight, my lats are tight. I'm gonna brace my core, I'm gonna draw some air into the belly, and then I'm gonna squat down. When you come back, bring the feet together, walk the bar to the rack, both feet under you, back down. That whole time, we're playing a game of tension. So there's a couple key points you want to think about. Grip, lats, abs, and then glutes. So the acronym for that is GLAG, grip, lats, abs, glutes. And we want to start here, we get the tension in the grip, then we get the lat, we're pulling those elbows down, we're getting tension in the lats, drawing some air into the belly, getting the glutes engaged. Getting the abs engaged. The glutes were already engaged as soon as I screw those feet in. And now I have maximum amount of tension, which is going to help create that sturdy structure so that way I can move whatever load I have on me as efficiently as possible. That's what we're playing, is learning to create that tension. So you can practice this you don't need a barbell at all. You can practice just standing here first, create tension, release. Create tension, release. Do that. Do that as a warm-up. Do that, just play with that. Do that as much as you can to start to create the electrical connection in your body as to what you're doing, the signal you're sending down to the feet, and how that goes right up the chain. And then once you have that, then you can just do reps of practicing racking the barbell. Don't even worry about the actual rep yet. Find your grip, get it as close as you can. Come under, get your feet under you. Up, step out, reset. Back out, hands on the bar, reset, nice and tight, feet under you. No slack in the system. Think about that. You want to try to get all the slack out of the system. Get the feet in place, screw those feet in, air in the belly. Strong, back up, feet together, back in the rack, back down. You can practice this for hours, for weeks, for years, but just learning to go through the same sequence each time, that's going to be huge, because we're just removing the steps and things that we ultimately have to think about. This becomes muscle memory. There's a lot of little checkpoints along the way. We want to try to be able to reserve as much of that mental and physical energy towards the actual hard part of the lift. But these things matter just as much as actually coming down and coming back up. So practice that. The key points for today are the feet, getting the feet screwed in, learning how to do that, knowing that there's a lot of different stances that can work for this. They're not right or wrong. It's gonna be what's best for you, and maybe playing with a couple different ones. Getting those glutes engaged, and then creating the tension, making that barbell like it is attached to your back. There's also, last thing I'll say is there's two positions for the barbell. One is more of a high barbell, which is where I think I tend to just kind of stay at, high back. And that's gonna kind of sit right here, below the base of my neck, but almost like up on the traps. The other is the low bar, which is gonna be back more in the back pockets of the shoulder blades. And it's more on my shoulder blades. And so it's a little bit different. It's gonna squat a little bit differently, but they're those are the two positions you want the barbell. You want to make sure it's not too high. It just wouldn't really work. So either sitting on the traps or more sitting, kind of locked in between the back of the shoulder blades. So I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, send them to me. This is a practice. So just keep practicing. It's not something you're going to dial in and get perfect right away. I'm still practicing, playing with it, just finding ways I can make it more efficient. Hope this was helpful, guys. Thank you.